Reading from the Lockdown on Self-Love. How to make suffering work for you. Chapter 5. Caving into peer pressure. As a consequence of having moved around a lot and not having lots of friends, I had turned into someone who felt like they had to fit in. At school, I was a class clown, always acting silly or drawing. Because I didn't take school seriously, I ended up doing really badly. I never paid any notice to my homework and my parents used to despair over me. However, they didn't prioritize or help me manage my time better, to allow for homework or better make sure that I did it. Perhaps they were trying to teach me responsibility. Now, I wish it had made me aware of the bigger picture really, to realize that I was investing into my future. But you can't tell teenagers anything. They know it all, don't they? I'll never forget the day we were all collectively at school together to receive our GCSE grades. There was joy, laughter, and now and then you saw the odd face that showed no emotion. I was one of the latter. I was quivering on the inside, not looking forward to opening up my envelope, because I knew I had nothing to show for it, not like the others, who could show how many A's they had received. Upon opening the letter, I was met with disappointment. That's when the penny dropped and time froze. If I was able to draw on any superpower at will, I would have made it like Flash. I was embarrassed. I felt like a failure, disheartened and convinced the damage was irreversible. To me, it was a clear indication of how worthless and how intellectually incapable I was, which did my self-esteem no good. What a vicious cycle our beliefs about ourselves are. I had started to notice, too, how some of my peers were not of my stature. They were well presented, happy, successful, and in better classes than I was. Meanwhile, I hung around with the idiots, so to speak, who smoked weed and had nothing to prove by throwing their weight around and mouthing off. I had nothing to celebrate and was not looking forward to going home that day. I imagined I would be met by my parents' disapproval and muttering of, "I knew you would have done badly," which is exactly what happened when I reluctantly showed them my grades. My parents didn't know I was struggling to fit in. They were preoccupied with their own lives. A little bit of compassion and understanding about what was going on in the background, rather than looking at face value of the consequences and results, would have gone a long way in helping. Instead, after disappointing them, I locked myself in my room for the rest of the day, feeling like a lost cause, playing Xbox and trying to numb away any feeling I had of discontent and shame. At least I didn't kick off, slam doors and what have you. Instead, I went on downtime and switched off, a healthier coping mechanism, I'm sure you might agree. Fast forward a few months, and I had the opportunity to make it right. My dad had arranged for me to go to an interview at a local college for a position in a graphic design program, seeing as it's what I told my teacher that I really wanted to do after leaving high school. The teacher noted that my grades were awful and that I wouldn't be guaranteed a position to study graphic design, but I was adamant that I would excel. The teacher took a liking to me, and both him and my dad felt confident I would be an ideal candidate. I was given the position. "Son, this is your chance to put right what you failed at school," my dad told me. I was so relieved. I couldn't believe I would get to do something I was passionate about, that was creative. My dream of drawing Dragon Ball Z characters was going to become a real career. It was compulsory to buy an iMac for the course and some other pricey software, which my dad took a loan out for. He didn't even hesitate. After having a conversation with me to make sure we both knew what I was getting into and the responsibility I had, I promised him there was no way I was going to mess this up. I would make new friends and, yeah, it'd be awesome. I was going to study and be a graphic designer. My first day attending college was exciting. This was another world I was stepping into. The possibilities were endless. Walking down the yard on that first day, I heard music from a distance. I walked towards where the noise was coming from and found a bunch of lads rapping and beatboxing. I approached them with amazement and curiosity, and they in turn greeted me with welcome arms and answered all my questions. I was one of two lads who approached them in fascination. We all laughed at how cool and fun this hobby of theirs was. From then on, I met up with them at any opportunity I had. One of the lads in the group was the same class as me, so we became fast friends. He introduced me to all his friends, and I wanted to be just like them. I started to dress like them. I started to use the same slang they did. I started trying to color coordinate my shoes with t-shirts. At any opportunity, I would buy new clothes, just so I could dress accordingly, to fit in. I also started to write lyrics to rap. I couldn't wait to share them. But I was always a nervous mess, my hands sweaty, and I would freeze before performing them. I wanted to so badly, but I didn't have the courage. I feared of making a fool of myself. It used to kill me, that thought of making a fool of myself. I was still clearly constantly insecure and refusing to let that go. Still, I called myself Slick MC, which was welcomed by my new friends and by my new friends and their friends. I had found my identity. I was one of the cool kids. I finally fitted in. I belonged. But my promise to my dad was starting to fall apart. Now, all I cared about was writing songs, drawing graffiti, and smoking joints on my way home, spending the rest of the day making music on my iMac. I ended up failing once again, as all my homework was submitted at the last minute. We were supposed to spend hours researching and writing articles about design, which lost me my grades, even though my designs were good. I was confused by how I could have done badly when the designs were really good. But energy flows where attention goes, and mine was firmly invested into fitting in. Weed was cool in my new crowd too. I started finding porn on my iMac later in the evening, so I locked myself in my bedroom most nights. Weed and porn went hand in hand. I went from enjoying the recreational aspects of smoking weed to identifying the aphrodisiac element it offered. I started to fantasize about what it would be like to have a girlfriend, and so my attention diverted even further away from my studies. I came across a site where you could make an account and make friends with other people online, and started talking to a girl I fancied. The conversation was always sexual, and I enjoyed asking if she enjoyed this, that, or the other, based on what I had seen on porn videos and what I was into and wanted to experience. I was really excited when we exchanged numbers. I'll be honest, there was something about her. She had this cute look about her, but with a naughty glint in her eye. That's exactly what I liked about her. The first time we spoke, the conversation on the phone lasted late into the evening, and I hoped no one overheard us. "Do you like giving blowjobs?" I remember asking, unsure what she would say. "Yeah," she replied. My jaw must have hit the floor, and I was erect from the excitement of it all. As the as the conversation came to an end, we decided to meet up on Friday night after college. I ended up going over to her house for the night, where we had a drink, smoked some weed, and had some sex. Leaning back, smoking a joint, while she gave me a blowjob, was like nothing the teenager boy in me could have imagined. Even the thought of her stepdad being in the house, the fact his bedroom was next door, wasn't enough to put us off in the heat of the moment, while we were intoxicated with drugs, alcohol, and each other. But it was more than that. I enjoyed the flow of the conversation. There was banter and we got on really well. We shared great times together. I introduced her to my mates, and she was welcomed, since she was just as crazy as we were. She made me laugh, and we used to party wildly together. On the weekends, I would drive us to house parties where we would take a few ecstasy pills. We would have a drink, smoke some weed, listen to music, and crack jokes with each other. late into the night. We developed our own little jokes, like when we were really wasted, she would hold my penis for me and help me draw Mickey Mouse on the walls whenever I went for a piss. I started to fall in love with her because she complimented my goofy side. Aside from that, I loved kissing her. It was the most amazing thing ever to snog. That's what I really liked about being in a relationship. That and having someone that I could count on. She had my back, and I had hers. Did I mention the sex? That's how I ultimately fell in love. My desire for intimacy transpired through sex and replicated my longing for a connection. It wasn't until recently that I came to realize I was using sex as a means to feel good about myself, for a release, even in the comfort of a relationship. I found that's how love was supposed to be expressed, through that level of intimacy. If I hadn't been offered it, I would question if she loved me. It took me a little while to understand how I was investing my energy, especially as a single man throughout this book writing process. Why was I masturbating? Why was I seeking multiple partners to have sex with? I learned I was seeking quick gratification, which left me still feeling empty afterwards. I was still unsatisfied and unfulfilled because I was lacking that level of intimacy with myself, with little passion for my own life. From that day moving forward, I made a promise to myself to never indulge with my own self or seek out sexual experiences for pleasure. I instead chose to practice self-discipline, harness dignity, and concentrate on my life. To use my sexual energy instead for getting creative with how I can improve myself and my life. We often seek passion from others, but what about passion for ourselves? My days were spent wasting time. I needed to fall in love with the realization of what it means to be alive and how to make the most of life. Especially when I started to feel like I would be far better off dead, that it wouldn't matter if I didn't wake up from my sleep the next morning. That was sad to admit to myself. What do you do with a grieving answer like that? The following. You must have something that you believe in. Figure out what you're passionate about, what your purpose is, your reason for being. What are you willing to fight for? Your why you wake up in the morning. They exist deep in your soul. You must be unapologetically yourself and show off your talents. You have to say, okay, world, this gift is from me to you. When I was writing this book, I reflected on everything I felt went wrong in my life. I put everything under the spotlight. I looked at what was going on in the present time. I felt like everything was going wrong, and thought that the days ahead of me looked no different either. By now, I'd lost count of how many times I let myself down, or others, until this realization. What are you going to do about it? I thought. I started to panic. It all seemed out of my control. Then it dawned on me that I was paying attention to everything I felt was going wrong instead of focusing on what was going right for me. Where you place energy is where your focus goes, right? The only alternative was to switch it up. So I started to reflect on everything that was going well for me, right here and now. What did I have to be grateful for? I reached for a pen and paper and wrote down everything in the present moment and expressed how grateful I was right then. I then had the idea, what would it be like to have my dream life come to pass in reality? What would it feel like? So I began to have some fun with that. I wrote, for example, I am so happy and grateful now that I am healthy and in great shape. My thoughts of myself are growing more positive every day and my confidence is soaring. I am so happy and grateful now that I am met with unexpected joys and prosperous opportunities that come to me with open arms. And I am so happy and grateful now that I am continuously inspired, that I too inspire another fellow human being, that I am motivated to always be the better version of myself today than the version I was the day before. With that, I am so happy and grateful now that I am always reaching new heights, knowing wholeheartedly that everything is always working out for my highest good, and that of all others. This is what you call an affirmation. There is a saying in the law of attraction: without coordinates without coordinates set into the GPS system, there is no destination to move forward towards. It's all very well saying you're going east, for example, but you could be heading to where you think is east and then arrive at east only to find yourself right back where you started, nowhere near east you wanted to be at all. These affirmations are your starting coordinates. See, I want to give you insight as to how I came about writing these affirmations and how you yourself can write out your own and apply them, suited to your own circumstances of how you want your life to look like. See, you have the power and the ability right now inside of you to solve every problem and to deal with every challenge that life throws at you. Your mind is a powerful tool and is always working to give you the results you expect of reality. If you look at life as one of scarcity and limited possibilities, that is exactly what you're going to get. However, if you look at life and view yourself as having so much potential that you are limitless and unstoppable, well, your mind will find a way to make that happen instead. You've got to ask yourself if what you want for yourself is the same as what you expect. The people we view as successful are no different than you and I. What separates them from the rest of us is how they view themselves and their lives in their own mind. You've got to know what you want and fully expect to get it. You've got to take the necessary steps to bring it about, and you must know that there will be challenges along the way, and you must know that you can face them because you've done it before in the past. With that being said, what can you write down in present tense that you can recite for when you're feeling like you're facing defeat? Go so far as to have these affirmations written out and pinned in your room where you can read them every day. Write ones that can make you feel empowered, regardless of what you have going on and what comes your way. Have it up on your wall besides where you go to bed. Your reason why you want to wake up in the morning, right there in front of you. Read it often and burn it to the back of your mind. That was that was really interesting to read, actually. I last year, so I published that 3 years ago, and I've been at arm's length about it, to be honest with you. And last year in particular, something happened, and I ended up spiraling out of control. To be honest with you, I was just really deep in my emotions, feeling a lot of despair, depressed as hell, to be honest with you. And when I mean that I was spiraling out of control, I was really spiraling out of control, going back into old habits as a coping mechanism, really, drugs, so on and so forth. And I got so bad in my head that I had to do something about it. And I ended up writing loads and loads of affirmations. Part of the problems that I have was parental problems, not being able to see my kids. It was really interesting reading that, because it's exactly what I ended up doing. And then very interesting when I then had another problem because I got into complications with the police and so on and so forth. One of which my phone got seized, and then bummer, I wasn't able to listen to this meditation that I recorded for myself that I was listening to in the morning and in the evening to just feed myself sweet words of affirmation because it's like this. I found out that our brain has approximately 70 to 100,000 thoughts on any given single day, and we have 95% of the same thoughts we did the day before. So can you see what I'm saying? When something bad happens and you just get in this loop, you just get on this on the and your feelings as well. It's this constant loop. So it's the depression, the sadness, the anger, and so on and so forth. So I was going through that. And the meditation for me was to just again feed myself sweet words of affirmation, like for instance, you got this, right? You got this. You got this. You got this. It's going to be okay. You've got a big, beautiful life ahead of you. This is just something you're going through, not something that's here to stay. And so on and so forth. You will meet someone beautiful. You will, become a coach or this, that, and the other. Just just call forward how you want your life to look like. Have something to aim at, and something that at least, well, at least you're saying something nice to yourself, you know? At least you're encouraging yourself. At least you're supporting yourself when no one else is supporting you. So yeah, that was really interesting. Since obviously the phone got seized and so on and so forth, it took me a little while to get around to then recording the meditation again. But I've been listening to it again since. I have religiously in the morning as well before I go to bed, and it helps. It really does help. Yeah, even in a meditation, for example, or affirmations you can read to yourself. Say you're proud of yourself, even if you're not proud. Because the whole point of like if whatever challenge you're at that you want to accomplish, that you want to achieve, let's say you want to recover from drugs, this, that, and the other. So you're proud of yourself because all you need is one honest move, one honest day at a time, you know? So you stack up those days. So if you're saying to yourself you're proud, I'm proud of myself. Yeah, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, I'm proud of myself. Whereas we get in emotions. We don't, and that's what I mean. If no one's supporting you, can you imagine if you're not supporting yourself? So yeah, that was a lockdown on self-love, how to make suffering work for you. Chapter 5. Um, and I'll post chapter 6 soon. Subscribe so you don't miss out on an episode. And if you haven't already, if you head over to my bio, to my profile, click playlist, you'll be able to see all the chapters that I've read by now. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye for now.